Success tastes like expensive champagne and validation. At least that's what I thought until my mother's name lit up my phone screen, shattering 5 years of carefully maintained silence. I stared at the notification, my finger hovering over the reject button. The bubbles in my glass had gone flat, much like my celebration mood. Around me, my colleagues from Horizon Solutions continued their animated chatter, toasting my promotion to department head. Jasmine, you have to see what marketing just posted about you. Tyler waved his phone, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from my screen. My mother, Linda, the woman who'd spent my entire childhood comparing me to my perfect sister Brittany. The phone kept vibrating, insistent as a wasp at a picnic. Tyler's smile faded when he noticed my expression. Everything okay? I excused myself and stepped onto the office balcony, where the city lights blurred beneath me. My hands shook as I accepted the call. Darling, Linda's voice dripped honey and arsenic. I saw your announcement on Instagram. Department head at 28. We're all so proud. We, as if she had any right to include herself in my achievements. How did you get this number? Oh, your Aunt Karen mentioned it. We've been following your career, you know. Your father and I always knew you'd do well. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that scared a nearby pigeon into flight. Really? Because I remember you telling me I'd never amount to anything without the family's connections. Water under the bridge, surely. She paused, and I could practically see her perfectly manicured nails drumming against whatever overpriced surface was nearest. We're having a family reunion next month. Everyone will be there. Brittany's flying in from Paris, and your grandmother Eleanor is coming too. My throat tightened at the mention of Gran. She was the only one who'd supported me when I'd cut ties with the family. The only one who understood why I had to leave. I'm busy, I said automatically. Busy avoiding your family? Darling, you're not that little girl anymore. You've proven yourself. Isn't it time to let go of old grievances? Old grievances, like the time she'd torn up my art school acceptance letter because it didn't fit the family image. Or when she'd given Brittany my college fund because she showed more promise. Why now? I demanded. Why reach out after 5 years? Because we're family, she said, as if that explained everything. And family should celebrate success together. Think about it. You could show everyone how far you've come. Brittany would love to hear about your work. I bet she would. My sister had always been fascinated by my failures, less so by my successes. I'll think about it, I said, knowing I wouldn't. Wonderful. I'll text you the details. And Jasmine? Her voice softened to that dangerous velvet tone I remembered from childhood. Do try to dress appropriately this time. You know how these gatherings can be. The call ended, but the tension remained, coiling in my stomach like a snake. Through the glass doors, I could see Tyler watching me with concern. He'd been there through the worst of my family drama, picking up the pieces when I'd finally broken free. My phone buzzed again. A text this time with an address and date. Below it, a photo appeared. My mother, father, and Brittany posed perfectly in their perfect living room, wearing perfect smiles that never quite reached their eyes. I should delete it. Block the number. Continue building my life without their toxic influence. Instead, I found myself saving the details, a plan already forming in my mind. They wanted to see how far I'd come? Fine. I'd show them exactly what their neglect had created. Someone who'd learned to fight back. My champagne sat abandoned on a nearby table, warm and flat. I picked it up anyway and drained it in one go. Sometimes revenge, like champagne, is best served cold. Gran's house always smelled like lavender and rebellion. I found her in her garden, pruning roses with the same precision she'd once used to cut toxic people from her life. The silver streaks in her hair caught the afternoon sun as she turned to face me. I wondered when you'd show up, Eleanor said, setting down her shears. Linda called. Of course she had. My mother's network of informants rivaled the CIA. Then you know about the reunion. I know it's a trap. Gran's eyes narrowed. What I don't know is why you're considering walking into it. I helped her gather the cut roses, their thorns pressing against my palms. Maybe I'm tired of running. You never ran, Jasmine. You escaped. She led me inside where 2 teacups already waited. Earl Grey, my favorite. There's a difference. The kitchen walls held photographs spanning decades, weddings, graduations, family gatherings. I noticed how the recent ones showed only half the family, split along battle lines drawn years ago. Brittany's back from Paris, I said, watching Gran's reaction. Her lips tightened. Yes, another failed fashion venture, I hear. Though your mother calls it a strategic career pivot. She poured the tea with steady hands. Did you know she's been asking about your company? My cup froze halfway to my lips. What? Madison overheard her at Karen's dinner party last week. Very interested in Horizon Solutions' client list. Gran's voice carried a warning. Your sister always did prefer stealing success to earning it. A memory surfaced. Brittany, 16, wearing my award-winning art piece like a crown at the school exhibition, accepting praise while I watched from the shadows, mother beaming at her golden child. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Your sister just requested to connect on LinkedIn. Heads up. They're planning something, I said, showing Gran the message. Of course they are. She reached across the table, her fingers closing over mine. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Before I could answer, another text arrived. Brittany. Sis, let's grab coffee tomorrow? So much to catch up on. XOXO. Gran read the message over my shoulder and snorted. The last time she wanted to catch up, you lost that gallery opportunity. I remember. The rejection letter had arrived suspiciously soon after Brittany learned which gallery I'd applied to. Pure coincidence, Mother had said, just like all the other coincidences that seemed to follow my sister's interest in my life. You could say no, Gran suggested. Keep your distance, stay safe. I stared at the roses we'd gathered, blood red and perfect. Or I could say yes and find out what they're really after. Jasmine. Gran's voice carried decades of concern. Some gardens are better left unpruned. And some weeds need to be pulled out by the roots. I typed a quick reply to Brittany, suggesting a trendy cafe downtown. Besides, I'm not that naive art student anymore. No, Gran agreed, studying me with a mixture of pride and worry. You're much more dangerous now. My phone lit up with Brittany's immediate response. Perfect. Can't wait to hear all about your promotion. Mom says you're doing so well. I could almost taste the poison beneath the sweetness. 7 years ago, I would have believed her enthusiasm. 7 years ago, I still thought family meant protection, not predation. Just promise me something, Gran said as I gathered my things to leave. Whatever you're planning, and don't tell me you're not planning something, remember that revenge is like those roses. Beautiful, but the thorns cut both ways. I hugged her goodbye, breathing in that familiar lavender scent. I learned from the best, Gran. You taught me how to handle thorns. As I drove home, Brittany's text glowed on my passenger seat like a challenge. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that cafe armed with years of accumulated pain and a newly forged armor of success. Let them try their games. This time, I knew how to play. And I had something they didn't. Nothing left to lose. The cafe's security footage played on my laptop screen in grainy black and white. I'd watched it 7 times now, studying Brittany's movements during our casual catch-up. The way she'd positioned herself to face the door. How her phone remained carefully angled throughout our conversation. The precise moment she'd excused herself to powder her nose. Exactly 3 minutes before Tyler texted about the emergency board meeting. Madison's message blinked on my screen. Found something. Check your email. Don't open at work. I glanced around the empty conference room before clicking the link. Financial records, tax statements, property listings, all bearing the family name, all showing a pattern that made my stomach turn. Interesting reading? I slammed my laptop shut. Tyler stood in the doorway, his expression grim. The board meeting wasn't a coincidence, was it? 3 of our biggest clients received anonymous emails questioning our integrity. He dropped a folder on the table. All from different addresses, all mentioning you specifically. My hands shook as I read the emails. Each one referenced insider information that only someone with intimate knowledge of our operations would know. Information I'd mentioned during coffee with Brittany. They're trying to destroy everything I've built. The words tasted like acid. Tyler's hand found my shoulder. We traced the IP addresses, all from high-end hotels in Paris, where Brittany's been staying. I laughed, but it sounded more like breaking glass. Mother always said she had a talent for networking. My phone buzzed. Linda's number. I let it ring through to voicemail. Darling, I heard about the unfortunate situation at work. These things happen in business. Perhaps it's time to consider other opportunities? The family business could always use someone with your experience. The family business. The same one that, according to Madison's documents, was hemorrhaging money through a maze of shell companies and fraudulent investments. The same one that had mysteriously acquired several properties shortly after their original owners faced sudden financial ruin. They're not just trying to destroy me, I realized. They're trying to force me back under their control. Tyler studied the documents spread across the table. This goes deeper than family drama, Jasmine. This is corporate espionage. No. I stood up, pieces clicking into place. This is desperation. Look at these dates. I pointed to the property acquisitions. Each one corresponds to one of Brittany's successful ventures. They've been using the family business to launder money through her failed projects. My phone buzzed again. A text from Madison. Aunt Linda's asking questions about my access to company records. Be careful. The walls seemed to close in. Years of manipulation, of calculated cruelty, all leading to this moment. They'd let me build myself up just to tear me down, expecting me to crawl back, begging for help. We need to alert the authorities, Tyler suggested. Not yet. I gathered the documents, mind racing. They've covered their tracks too well. We need irrefutable proof. The reunion's in 2 weeks, he reminded me. They'll expect you to have broken by then. A plan formed, dark and dangerous as storm clouds. Then let's give them exactly what they expect. My phone lit up with another call. Brittany this time. I answered on speaker. Sis, I just heard about the board meeting. Are you okay? The concern in her voice was perfect. Practiced. I thought of all the times she'd used that same tone while taking credit for my work, stealing my opportunities, destroying my chances. I don't know what to do, I whispered, letting my voice crack. Everything's falling apart. Oh, honey. The satisfaction beneath her sympathy was barely concealed. Come home. We'll figure this out together. Family first, right? Right. I agreed, catching Tyler's worried look. Family first. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and began typing my resignation letter. Sometimes the only way to dismantle a trap is to step into it willingly. Are you sure about this? Tyler asked. I thought of Gran's roses, of thorns that cut both ways. They want to play happy families? Fine. Let's see how well their facade holds up when the prodigal daughter returns. The setting sun cast long shadows across the conference room, turning everything blood red. Somewhere across the city, my family was celebrating their apparent victory, unaware that every move they'd made had only strengthened my resolve. Let them think they'd won. The best revenge, after all, is served at a family dinner. The family estate loomed before me, its windows gleaming like predatory eyes in the afternoon sun. I hadn't planned to return here until the reunion, but Robert's unexpected call had changed everything. Your mother's not home, he said, opening the door. 7 years had aged him 2 decades. We need to talk. The foyer still displayed the same carefully curated family photos, Brittany's achievements, Mother's social triumphs. Not a single image of me remained. Coffee? Robert's hands trembled as he poured. I saw your resignation letter. Linda was pleased. I'm sure she was. I watched him avoid my gaze. Why did you call me here? He placed a manila envelope on the kitchen counter, then stepped back as if it might explode. I found these in Brittany's old room. You should see them. Inside were documents, contracts, emails, bank statements. My fingers went numb as I read. The family business hadn't just been laundering money, They'd been systematically destroying their competitors, including my former company. How long have you known? Long enough to be complicit. Robert's voice cracked. Your mother and sister, they're planning something for the reunion. Something big. I can't stop them, but I thought... The front door clicked. Robert's face went white. Daddy? Brittany's voice rang through the house. Your car's still here. Did you forget about our lunch? She froze in the kitchen doorway. The perfect mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. Jasmine. What a surprise. I was just leaving. I moved to gather the documents, but Brittany was faster. What's this? She snatched the envelope, scanning its contents. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into the paper. Daddy, you shouldn't share confidential business materials. They're not confidential if they're evidence of fraud, I said. Brittany's laugh could have cut glass. Evidence? These are just internal documents. Besides, who would believe you? The bitter older sister, jealous of her successful family. Brittany, please, Robert started, but she silenced him with a look. It's fine, Daddy. Jasmine's just confused. Aren't you, sis? All that stress from losing your job, it must be affecting your judgment. My phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Gran's in the hospital. Heart attack. Get here now. The room tilted. Brittany read the distress on my face and smiled. Problem? This isn't over. I managed, heading for the door. It never is with you. Brittany's voice followed me. Say hi to Gran for us. Such a shame about her fall. I spun around. Fall? The message said heart attack. Did it? My mistake. She examined her nails. Memory's been a bit fuzzy since I had lunch with her yesterday. The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Robert wouldn't meet my eyes. At the hospital, I found Tyler already there, pacing the waiting room. She's stable, he said before I could ask. But Madison found something in her system. Traces of digitalis. Foxglove. My nails cut into my palms. Brittany's favorite flower. She always kept them in her garden. There's more. Tyler lowered his voice. The board meeting tomorrow. They're voting to acquire Horizon Solutions. Hostile takeover. Your mother's company will absorb everything. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. My resignation, the client sabotage, Gran's accident. They weren't just trying to bring me back to the family, they were systematically dismantling every escape route I had. I can't prove any of it, can I? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Not legally. Tyler hesitated. But Madison copied the documents before Brittany took them. We have enough to destroy their reputation, if not their freedom. Through the hospital window, I watched the sun set behind the city skyline. Somewhere out there, my sister was probably already reporting the stolen documents to the police. My father was likely drinking himself into familiar oblivion. And my mother... When does the board vote? I asked. 9 a.m. tomorrow. I thought of Gran lying in that hospital bed, of Robert's trembling hands, of all the years of calculated cruelty masked as family love. Then we have 12 hours to tear everything down. Jasmine. Tyler touched my arm. If we do this, there's no going back. I looked at my phone's wallpaper. The last photo taken of Gran and me together, both of us smiling, real smiles that reached our eyes. They crossed that line when they went after her. Now they'll learn what real family loyalty looks like. The night stretched ahead, dark with possibility and promise. Sometimes the only way to save what you love is to burn everything else to the ground. The hospital room's monitors beeped steadily as Gran slept. I'd spent the last 3 nights here, watching her vital signs while coordinating with Tyler and Madison. My laptop glowed with damning evidence. Forged signatures, fraudulent property transfers, offshore accounts. You should rest, Tyler said, appearing with coffee. The board meeting's in 6 hours. Can't. I showed him the latest email from Linda, a family photo from the upcoming reunion's seating chart. They'd placed me next to Brittany, directly across from the kitchen doors. They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. My phone buzzed. Madison. Found something in Aunt Linda's email. You need to see this now. The attached document made my blood freeze. A contract dated 3 days ago selling Gran's house. Her signature looked perfect. Too perfect. The kind of perfect that came from years of practice forging art school rejection letters and withdrawal forms. They're taking everything, I whispered. Not just the company. They want to leave her with nothing. Tyler studied the contract. We can stop this. The board members won't believe us without proof. I closed my laptop harder than necessary. And Brittany has the original documents. Then we'll get them back. The determination in his voice made me look up. Madison says your mother is hosting her weekly bridge club right now. The house will be empty except for the staff. The implications hung in the air like smoke. Breaking and entering, theft, criminal charges if we were caught. But Gran's monitors kept beeping, each sound a reminder of what they'd already done. I can't ask you to risk. You're not asking. Tyler grabbed his keys. I'm telling. The drive to my childhood home felt surreal. Security cameras tracked our movement up the driveway, but Madison had already looped the footage. 3 minutes to get in, 5 to search, 2 to get out. Remember, Tyler said as I picked the lock to Brittany's private office, a skill learned from years of retrieving stolen diaries and art supplies. If anyone shows up? I know. The door clicked open. Run. Brittany's office reeked of expensive perfume and artificial success. Awards lined the walls, half of them originally mine. The safe behind her favorite self-portrait yielded easily to our grandmother's birthday. Found them, I said, pulling out the envelope Robert had shown me. But underneath lay something else. Medical records. Gran's medical records dated months before her accident. Jasmine. Tyler's voice carried a warning. Someone's coming. Footsteps echoed down the hall. I shoved everything into my bag, but as we turned to leave, Brittany's laptop caught my eye. Password protected, but I knew my sister. She'd always used the same one, the date she'd won her first art competition. With my painting. We need to go, Tyler insisted. 1 minute. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Access granted. Files copied. Time running out. The footsteps grew closer. Tyler grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the window. We made it to the car just as voices filled the office above. My heart pounded as Tyler drove us away, the stolen documents burning a hole in my bag. Back at the hospital, Madison was waiting. Mom's asking questions, she said. She knows something's happening. I spread the documents across Gran's bedside table. Medical reports showing deliberate medication changes. Property transfers dated before the accidents. Emails discussing contingency plans if I didn't cooperate. They've been planning this for months, Madison whispered, horror creeping into her voice. The reunion, the company takeover, Gran's condition, it's all connected. Not for long. I pulled up Brittany's copied files. The board meeting starts in 2 hours. By then, every member will have copies of these documents. Anonymous source, of course. They'll come after you, Tyler warned. Your mother won't let this go. Good. I took Gran's hand, feeling her weak pulse against my fingers. Because I'm counting on it. The sunrise painted the hospital room in shades of red and gold. In a few hours, my family's carefully constructed empire would begin to crumble. They'd taught me well. About power, about manipulation, about revenge. Now it was time to show them exactly how well I'd learned those lessons. Madison, send the files. I watched the morning light creep across Gran's peaceful face. It's time to give them a family reunion they'll never forget. The family reunion buzzed with artificial cheer and expensive champagne. I watched from my assigned seat as Linda worked the room, her designer dress catching the light like scales on a snake. Brittany held court near the French doors, surrounded by admirers who had no idea she'd nearly killed our grandmother. You're looking well, Robert said, hovering by my chair. The board meeting's aftermath had aged him another decade. Your mother was worried you wouldn't come. Was she? I sipped my water, noting how Brittany's eyes kept darting to my plate. Or was she worried I would? Madison's text vibrated against my hip. USB drive planted in Linda's study, security footage looping. The catering staff emerged from the kitchen, carrying plates of Linda's famous seafood risotto. My special plate arrived last, garnished with fresh parsley, just like the dish that had sent me to the hospital at 16. Still allergic to shellfish? Brittany asked sweetly. Don't worry, I made sure they knew. I bet she did, just like she'd made sure about Gran's medication. Linda clinked her glass, commanding attention. Before we eat, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to celebrate our family's reunion. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Especially Jasmine, who's finally come home after her unfortunate professional setback. The room temperature seemed to drop. Several guests shifted uncomfortably, aware of the hostile takeover that had made headlines. Actually, I stood, my chair scraping against hardwood. I'd like to say something. Darling, Linda's warning tone could have frozen hell. Perhaps after dinner? No, now is perfect. I pulled out my phone, connecting to the house's wireless speakers, another of Madison's tricks. I've prepared a presentation. The first image appeared on the dining room's projection screen, Gran's medical records, then the forged documents, the offshore accounts, each slide accompanied by gasps and murmurs from the assembled guests. What is this? Linda's voice shook with barely controlled rage. The truth. I moved away from my plate as Brittany's hand twitched toward it. About the family business, about Gran's accident, about everything. You ungrateful. Brittany lunged forward, but Robert caught her arm. Security footage, too, I continued, watching color drain from Linda's face. Very thorough security system you have. Records everything. Even conversations about poison and property theft. The room erupted in chaos. Linda's society friends backed away, phones already spreading the scandal. Robert slumped in his chair while Brittany's perfect mask cracked completely. Then I felt it. The first hint of throat constriction. The familiar tingle on my tongue. They'd gotten to my water glass. Tyler moved toward me, but Linda blocked his path. Jasmine, you're clearly unwell. Perhaps you should lie down. My vision blurred. The EpiPen in my purse seemed miles away. Madison's horrified face swam at the edge of my consciousness. You see? Linda addressed the room, her voice dripping concern. The stress of losing her position has affected her judgment. These accusations are clearly recorded. Tyler's voice cut through my growing dizziness. He held up his phone, still filming. All of it, including whatever you just did to her drink. I stumbled, catching myself on the table. The room tilted dangerously. Nobody leaves, Tyler commanded as guests tried to flee. Police are already on their way. Through darkening vision, I saw Brittany's smirk fade. Linda's mask of concern cracked. Robert finally stood up straight. Daddy, Brittany pleaded, do something. But Robert walked past her, past Linda, to where I was fighting for breath. The EpiPen, he said, reaching for my purse. Where? The world went sideways. Voices blurred together. Someone screamed. Maybe Madison. Maybe me. The last thing I saw was Linda's face, twisted with a hatred that had always been there, just better hidden. Then darkness took me, and I couldn't help wondering if this was what winning felt like. This cold, empty feeling as consciousness slipped away. If revenge was worth dying for. The answer whispered through my fading thoughts. Not dying. Surviving. Because that's what I'd always done. What they'd taught me to do without meaning to. Survive. Fight. Win. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The game wasn't over yet. Hospital fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as consciousness returned. Tyler's face swam into focus, then Madison's. Behind them, police officers interviewed shocked party guests, while crime scene technicians photographed my water glass. She's awake, Madison called, and a doctor hurried over to check my vitals. You're lucky, she said. The EpiPen and quick response time saved your life. Through the emergency room's glass doors, I watched Linda being handcuffed, her designer dress clashing with steel bracelets. Brittany sat nearby, mascara streaking her perfect makeup as she spoke to detectives. "The video's gone viral," Tyler said, showing me his phone. The footage showed everything. My presentation, the poisoning attempt, Linda's mask finally slipping. "Your mother's society friends are already distancing themselves." "Where's Robert?" My voice was raw from intubation, giving his statement. Madison squeezed my hand. "He's telling them everything. About Gran, about the company, about years of covering up their schemes." A commotion erupted outside. Brittany had broken free from the officers, bursting into my room. "You ruined everything." Her face contorted with rage. "We were protecting you, you ungrateful—" "Protecting me?" The heart monitor's beeping accelerated. By poisoning me? By trying to kill Gran? She was going to tell everyone about Mother's past, about what really happened to... Brittany caught herself, but too late. To whom? The room went deadly quiet. "Your Aunt Catherine." Robert's voice came from the doorway. He looked older than I'd ever seen him, but somehow stronger. "Your mother's sister, the one you were told died in an accident 25 years ago." Linda appeared behind him, flanked by officers. "Robert, don't," but he continued, words spilling out like blood from an old wound. "Catherine threatened to expose Linda's first marriage, her criminal record. There was an argument, pills in her drink." He met my eyes. "Just like tonight." "Mother?" Brittany's voice shrank to a whisper. Linda's mask cracked completely. "I did what I had to do. For this family, for our reputation. Catherine was weak, just like..." "Like me?" I finished. "Is that why you tried so hard to control me? Because I reminded you of her? You were supposed to be perfect." Linda lunged forward, officers barely restraining her. "Like Brittany, but you fought everything, every lesson, every opportunity. Just like Catherine, always questioning, always threatening to ruin everything I built. The difference is..." I sat up straighter, ignoring the pain. "I survived. And I recorded everything you just said." Madison held up her phone, still recording. Linda's face went ash white. "You taught me well, Mother. About power, about manipulation, about family loyalty." I nodded to the officers. "About consequences." As they led Linda away, Brittany collapsed into a chair, her world visibly crumbling. "I didn't know," she whispered. "About Catherine, about any of it." "But you knew about Gran," I said. "About the company fraud, about trying to destroy me." "Because you were leaving us." Her perfect mask finally shattered, revealing something broken underneath. "Everyone leaves." Robert stepped forward, placing a hand on Brittany's shoulder. "Not everyone, but we have to earn the right to keep people in our lives." He turned to me. Something I learned too late. The sun was rising outside my hospital window, painting the sky in shades of redemption. Madison showed me another message. Gran was awake, asking for me. Tyler hadn't left my side, his quiet strength a reminder that family isn't always about blood. "What happens now?" Brittany asked, small and lost without her role to play. I thought about revenge, about justice, about the fine line between healing and destroying. Now we learn who we are without her scripts to follow. The morning light stretched across the hospital room, touching each face. Madison's loyalty, Tyler's devotion, Robert's regret, Brittany's uncertainty. All of us forever changed by the truth we'd uncovered. Sometimes family isn't what you're born into, but what you build from the ashes of what burns down. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destruction, but reconstruction, creating something stronger from the broken pieces. The police had more questions. The media wanted statements. The future loomed, uncertain but free. For the first time in my life, I was ready to face it all. Not as the person they'd tried to make me, but as the person I'd become despite them. Or perhaps because of them. Gran's garden bloomed with autumn roses as I helped her prune the dying branches. The morning paper lay folded on her patio table, its headlines still visible. Business empire crumbles. Linda Mitchell faces criminal charges. You haven't visited Brittany, Gran said, her pruning shears snipping with surgical precision. She made her choice. I gathered fallen petals, remembering my sister's face at the sentencing. She'd looked lost, stripped of her designer armor and practiced smiles. The rehab facility has a good program. And Robert? The roses felt velvet soft against my fingers. He's cooperating with the investigation. Trying to make amends, I suppose? Gran set down her shears, studying me with eyes that had seen through Linda's facade decades ago. There's something I need to show you. Inside, she unlocked a drawer I'd never noticed before, removing a leather-bound journal. Your Aunt Catherine's diary. I've kept it all these years, waiting for the right moment. My hands trembled as I opened it. Catherine's words flowed across the pages, describing Linda's early manipulations, her growing fears, her final desperate attempts to protect her family from her sister's poison. She knew, I whispered, about everything, about what Linda was capable of, just as I knew what you were capable of. Gran's voice held a mix of pride and sadness. Why do you think I encouraged your independence? Your art? Everything Linda tried to suppress? The diary's last entry was dated the day before Catherine's accident. Its final words struck like lightning. If anything happens to me, protect Jasmine. She has her father's heart and my spirit, too strong to break, too honest to corrupt. My phone buzzed. Tyler, checking if we were still on for dinner. Next to his message was a text from Madison about the graphic design business we were starting together, and another from Robert asking to meet. I always wondered, I said, closing the diary, why you didn't stop her sooner. Why you let Linda, for the same reason you orchestrated her downfall the way you did. Gran touched the diary gently. Some people have to expose themselves before others will believe the truth about them. Through the window, I watched a butterfly land on one of Gran's roses, its wings catching sunlight like stained glass. Catherine tried to fight her directly. That's why she lost. And you learned to fight smarter. Gran smiled. To build something stronger than Linda's walls of lies. Look at what you've created. Real friendships, honest success, true family. The doorbell rang. Madison arriving early with paint samples for our new office. Beyond her, I could see Tyler parking his car, carrying the takeout we'd promised Gran for dinner. I thought revenge would feel different, I admitted. More satisfying, maybe. Instead, it feels like freedom. Gran squeezed my hand. Catherine would be proud, not of the revenge, but of what you've built from the ashes. The diary sat between us, its secrets finally laid bare. Outside, Madison and Tyler's laughter mingled with the garden's peace. My phone showed another missed call from Brittany, the third this week. Sometimes, Gran said, following my gaze to the phone. The hardest part isn't tearing down the old walls. It's deciding which new bridges to build. I thought of Brittany in rehab, fighting her own battles. Of Robert's halting attempts at redemption. Of Linda, facing the consequences of her choices in a cell that was, perhaps, no smaller than the prison she'd built for herself long ago. The butterfly took flight, rising above Gran's garden wall. Below it, new roses were already budding where we'd pruned the dead branches, reaching for light in their own way, at their own pace. I picked up my phone, Catherine's diary close at hand. Some calls shouldn't go unanswered forever. Some stories need new endings, even if they're harder to write than the ones we first imagined. After all, the strongest gardens grow in turned soil, and the deepest healing often begins when we least expect it, in the spaces between revenge and forgiveness, between justice and mercy, between the family we're born with and the one we choose to build.